Hello everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day out there. This is Star Trek Online, and this is my review of the prototype light exploration cruiser Starship in Star Trek Online. Now, the light exploration prototype cruiser is based on the Walker-class Starship design from Star Trek Discovery. This Starship you can purchase in the Z store separately, or you can get it within the starter pack for the Age of Discovery update in Star Trek Online. You will most likely play this ship on the DSC Starfleet faction in Star Trek Online. However, it can be purchased separately on any Federation Starfleet faction, i.e. the normal regular Starfleet faction, and flown on that faction as well. This ship is unique because it is a scaling starship. It scales from Tier 1 to Tier 4. What that means is that the hull strength scales and other stats on the ship scale from what would be Tier 1 to Tier 2 to Tier 3 all the way up to Tier 4. That makes it a very versatile and useful starship early on in your career of the game. You basically will not have to get a new starship at every level with this one. It will take you all the way through level 40 and even to level 50 very easily. Even though that is beyond its specification, this ship has staying power. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video, because this ship definitely has staying power as a starship. It is a very good cruiser starship in this game. So basically this is new because we've never had a scaling kind of starship in this game before, and it allows players to get this ship right after the tutorial that you would play on the DSC faction, and then use this ship at Tier 1 and then continue to use it all the way through Tier 4 and even Tier 5, because like I said, it has staying power. And the benefit of using this ship at early tiers of the game is that you have all of your weapon and console slots open to you and available at those lower tiers. Normally, a Tier 1 starship would only have like 2 fore weapons and 1 aft weapon slots. But no, with this ship, you get to utilize all of its 4 weapon slots, all of its aft weapon slots, all the way down to level 1, Tier 1. That means that it is a much more powerful ship at each tier than an equivalent ship of that tier level would be. And that's very important because it does make you a very powerful player, very OP player at each tier up to Tier 4. Now, when we talk about tiers, what you want to take note of is how that works in this game. Tier 1, or a Tier 1 starship, is between levels 1 and 10, and you are a lieutenant. That's Tier 1. Hit level 10, you become Tier 2, and you are a lieutenant commander. Then level 20 is Tier 3, a commander, and then Tier 4 is level 30, you become a captain. So this ship scales all the way to 30. Now you're scaling, of course, at 30, you're still going to be Tier 4 all the way up until 39, and then when you hit 40, you're going to hit Tier 5. So all the way through your captain career is what this ship is technically meant to run you through. So you would use this ship all the way through your captain career until you become level 40, and then you become Rear Admiral lower half, and then you would get your Tier 5 starship at level 40. However, I would argue that this ship is still extremely useful at level 40, Tier 5, and so even as a Rear Admiral lower half and Rear Admiral upper half, you probably will not even need to get another new ship, which means you can go all the way through your Tier 5 career with this ship all the way until you hit level 50 and you become a Vice Admiral, and at that point just upgrade to a Tier 6 starship. So you pretty much could skip getting a Tier 5 starship altogether, and really this starship could be a Tier 1 through Tier 5 starship. And then when you hit 50, go for that Tier 6 in-game starship. That is what I'm proposing with this ship. It is that good, and I'm going to show you that today in this review. So this review format is going to be similar to all my other formats. I'm going to talk about the ship, which I'm doing now. We're going to go over the specifications. I'm going to show you my build and what I'm running, and then we're going to take it into combat and see what it can do in combat. Take note, I am on my DSC Starfleet faction character, so this is the new Discovery era faction that I am on currently. This is my character, this is my character, Mirror Ricky, and he is currently a level 44 Rear Admiral lower half. That means technically I would be flying a Tier 5 starship at this time. But as you can see, I still have the Prototype Light Explorer cruiser on here, and I'm going to show you that it is still extremely good at level Tier 5. So that is really cool. And okay, so the first thing I want to do is to go over the specifications on this starship. We need to know what it is first. So the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the Walker class in general, just so you can understand, you know, the basic design principles and ideas behind the starship, because I always like to get that behind the scenes info on a ship. So this is basically from the Star Trek Discovery show, and this is all about the Walker class from the TV show Star Trek Discovery. And I'm reading this from the from Memory Alpha website. And it says, the Walker class was a type of Federation starship in service during the mid-23rd century. By 2249, it was considered old compared to other ships in the fleet. The design of the Walker class consisted of a saucer section with an integrated, laterally positioned navigational deflector, a compact secondary hull, and two nacelles attached by pylons extending beneath the ship's superstructure. The Walker class had at least 15 decks and 2 shuttle bays. It carried a complement of shuttlecraft and worker bees, as well as escape pods, which could be launched from breakaway panels lining the top of the saucer section. The ship class was capable of atmospheric flight by means of thrusters scattered over its ventral hull. The ship's armament includes phaser cannons, phasers, and photon torpedoes. Atypical for a Starfleet vessel, the bridge was located on the underside of the saucer on Deck 7 and had an adjacent captain's ready room. The internal arrangement of the Walker class was not dissimilar to that of the more advanced Crossfield class, with nearly identical corridors and crew quarters. The Walker class possessed transporter systems similar to that of the Crossfield class. However, it was equipped with lateral vector transporters, a design deemed obsolete by the late 2240s. The ships commissioned was the USS Shenzhou, NCC 1227. We saw that in, or Shenzhou. We saw that in, of course, Star Trek Discovery. A little bit more info here. According to technical data prepared for the San Diego Comic-Con, the ISS Shenzhou had 13 decks. So there is a mirror version of this ship as well in the mirror universe, and a crew complement of 150, and a maximum warp of warp 6, and 2 impulse engines that could do approximately warp factor 0.3, so 0.3 sublight. So the crew complement would be about 150 for this ship, and between 13 and 15 decks. It says the other one had 15 decks. Yeah, 15 decks for the non-Mirror Universe version, and 2 shuttle bays. So that gives you some idea of what the Walker class is all about in the show. A very you could say it's a very versatile starship, capable of doing many things, having the shuttle bay, of course. And what I find really interesting is that it specifically mentions atmospheric flight. This ship is meant to fly in an atmosphere, although it doesn't say here if it can land or not. That's not mentioned. You would think that maybe because it can fly in an atmosphere, maybe it can also land, although I don't know how that would work because the warp nacelles, they really angle quite far down from the saucer section. I guess you could put landing struts underneath the nacelles and hold up that way, but you would need something real long from the saucer up here to go down to make this thing level if you were landing. So I don't know if it can land on a planet, but it can definitely fly in the atmosphere, which I guess serves some kind of purpose. I don't know why you would need the ship to be able to do that, but it can do that, which is interesting. And of course, one of the big features on it, which we can see right here underneath, is that the bridge is on the bottom. That's right, the bridge is on the bottom. So it has what is an actual physical window into space on the bridge, which I like the window. You know me and the windows. I love the windows. And then also it's got this area underneath where you can look below and look out into space as well. And you see that on the bridge. And we'll take a look at the bridge, but it does have that. And then it's also got these little windows on the side here, which you can kind of see from some of the stations on the side of the bridge. But it's interesting, yeah, that the bridge is on the bottom. I don't know the advantages or disadvantages to that. I really don't know. But I don't know of any other starship that has the bridge down there like that. Now, what is really prominent here on the saucer section is just how big the deflector dish is and how much it sticks out. And it looks like it's got like cannons on the front of it, you know? Really striking design there with the way that deflector dish is just sticking out like that. And I kind of like it, though. Very retro feeling, for sure. And then with nothing on the top of the hull here, or at least I should say not having the bridge on the top of the hull up here, I guess you could put extra armor up here for like getting into a firefight or something. I mean, I suppose that's an advantage, is that you could always angle your ship so that the enemy is firing on the top of the saucer, which would, you know, save the bridge. That could be a thing. That could help. And then on the back here, let's get into some sunlight so we can see it better. But I believe that back here is where the shuttle bay would be. There we go. Turn sunlight. Right here is where I'm guessing the shuttle bay is. I mean, it just looks like that would be the landing platform, and then shuttle bay could open up into there. Don't know what this little area is. It's got like fins that like stick up here. I don't know what purpose that serves. I was thinking maybe like some kind of viewport station, you know, so you could like see out into space and see what's going on, but I don't know. I don't know why they would have like those fins on top. But it gives it a cool kind of design language, I guess. Don't know that it would so much help with atmospheric flight. But I guess having this wing-like structure, see how this like has this is like kind of open between here? What this could do is I could see this performing some kind of aerodynamic feature in an atmosphere to help provide lift on the ship. I mean, maybe that's why it's like that, so that gives it some kind of lift when you're flying through an atmosphere. Almost like a wing, you know? I could kind of see that, and I just like the looks of it. It's very cool. And it's attached back here. This is attached back here with a little corridor just right in there. Otherwise, that's your only connecting point there, I guess, is that little piece right there. And then it's got like these bracers where the two parts here meet for the pylon on the nacelle, which is, I guess, just a point to help, you know, strengthen it maybe. And then the nacelles, very long nacelles, and I love this kind of pinkish purplish color of the nacelles. Kind of hard though to tell on the Bussard collectors, you know, where it collects all that gaseous stuff from space. They're not colored, and it's just flat. which is interesting. I don't know how that works necessarily. And then it tapers off on the end. They start off big and then they taper off toward the end. I like that tapering off where it goes from large to smaller. That's a very, very good classic design there. I like that. What else can we see here? It's got lights. Again, a lot of lights to light up your registry and name of your ship. I don't know. I guess these are the impulse engines right here, these sparkling things. I don't know what this is necessarily. And this almost looks like, let's swing back around into the light here. This almost looks like a platform for people to come out and stand up on. Like if you needed to walk on the hull or something, some kind of platform you could do that with. Otherwise, I don't know why it would be indented here. You know, why is this indented? Maybe you could land a shuttle in there? I really don't know why this little part's indented here. What does that mean? I don't know. Yeah, otherwise, very cool looking ship. I was also reading, one second, from this that, yeah, here we go. The Walker class was meant to incorporate elements from Enterprise NX-01 from Star Trek Enterprise and the USS Reliant from Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, as well as 1940s aircraft. The distinctive red livery adorning the Shenzhou was added after the design was finalized and the Aztec patterning deemed too subtle. So, it incorporates several different looks, the NX-01 and the Reliant, and 1940s aircraft. Interesting combination there. The ship, of course, is designed by John Eaves, in conjunction with Star Trek Discovery production designer Todd Chernowski, under guidance from co-creator Brian Fuller, who requested that the ships have a lower profile than that of the original USS Enterprise and poses angular nacelles. So that's where, I'm off the map here. So that's where it gets its design influence from. But yeah, so this is what it looks like flat on. If you're looking at it from the top down. And then this is bottom down or bottom up. This would be head on. And then, of course, trailing the ship will look like that. Let's do a quick size comparison of the ship before we go down to ground and read about the specifications on the ship, because I want to bring you into the, I guess I could do it from the Z store. I want to go over the Star Trek Online specifications for the ship so that you know what it is capable of in the game and what it has. But I want to get a size comparison first and see, you know, how it compares to other ships that we are familiar with in size, just so you get an idea on the size of the darn thing. So here is like a TNG era ship, a little different. It's a different iteration. Let's find something real familiar. There we go. The Enterprise E. That's a good comparison to look at the size. We all know how big the Enterprise E looks. So this gives you an idea. Honestly, it's bigger than I would have thought, this ship. It's not tiny like the Malachowski that we were flying previously. It's bigger than the Malachowski for sure. Again, a crew of 150, so it's not huge. We're not talking, you know, huge here, but like the Enterprise is like 1,000 people, you know. This is 150, so it definitely has a lot less internal space. But there's a good comparison. It's smaller, but it's not like tiny. It's about a medium-sized ship, I would say. Yeah, it's about a medium-sized ship. I mean, it's not extremely tiny, but it's also not large. If we zoom all the way out on the ship, this is what it looks like zoomed all the way out. So it looks small when you're zoomed all the way out, but it really is not extremely tiny. There's a Galaxy class right there. Let's look at that. No, that's not Galaxy. That's Ambassador. Oh, and he flew away. Just when I want to compare a ship. All I want to do is compare a ship. Let's go to a different instance and take a look. You never know what you'll find there. And of course, this has the Discovery era warp in and warp out effect. There's the Dreadnought. Galaxy X version of it. Yeah, compared to the Enterprise D, that really makes this ship look a lot smaller, because that ship is real big. Yeah, you could fit like this entire ship within the saucer section of that ship. So there you go. I mean, that's a bit of a good size comparison there. You can kind of see how they match up. Yeah. Again, it's not tiny, but it's not big. It's in the middle. It's in the middle. Medium size. I'd like to see it up against a TOS or something like that, but of course, that's hard to line up in a game like this. Wait a minute. Is that a TOS ship? Wait a minute. I may be in luck. This happened the last time I was doing a video too. It is a TOS ship. It's what is that class? I don't know that class, but it is definitely a TOS ship. Utility cruiser. Well, I don't know the class of the ship, but it does look familiar. Oh, this ship is definitely much bigger than that. Look at that. Oh, and it flew away. Darn it. Well, I could definitely tell that this was a lot bigger than the TOS ship. So I bet this ship is a lot bigger than the Constitution. So that gives you an idea. Okay. Well, instead of just spending all our time looking around here, let's see what it looks like against the Excelsior. This is a NPC ship here. It's like the size of an Excelsior. Yeah, look at that. Actually, it might be a little bit bigger on the saucer part of it. That's really interesting, actually. Yeah, the saucer may be tiny bit bigger on this ship, maybe. That ship has more secondary hull space, where this ship does not have a secondary hull. Well, it has a little bit of one. So yeah, that's interesting. So I guess it's kind of similar in size to like that era of TOS Starship, the Excelsior. Huh, interesting. Okie dokie. Well, let's look at some specifications, shall we? Let's go to ships, and you'll actually find this under Tier 1. But it is the prototype light exploration cruiser, Here's what it says. The Walker class is one of the powerhouses at leading the Federation into the future, designed to be effective in a wide variety of missions as Starfleet needs. The Starship will scale its stats up to your level until you reach 30, and then it just stops leveling. That doesn't mean it's not useful past 30. That just means it stops leveling with you. The prototype light exploration cruiser comes equipped with a universal polarity remodulator. By continuously adjusting the modulation of the ship's shield polarity, you can cause your ship's shielding and hull to become highly resistant to impacts, making them much better and able to withstand kinetic damage. Additionally, the rapid polarity modulation causes the shields to absorb ambient energy as its modulation briefly matches that of the incoming energy, causing your ship's shields to heal for a small portion of incoming damage. However, the strain that this places on your ship cannot be sustained forever, and eventually your shields must return to normal rates of remodulation. The console may be equipped in any console slot and on any starship. So here's the scaling hull strength. At level 1, tier 1, you have an 11,500 hull strength. And at level 10, which is tier 2, 17,250, and then tier 3 is 23,000, and then tier 4 it maxes out at 28,750. The shield modifier is always 1.1, but you always have 4 forward weapons and 3 aft, even all the way at tier 1. So you get to use all your weapon slots, which makes it very useful at the low tiers. You have 1 lieutenant tactical, 1 commander level engineering, 1 lieutenant science, and 1 lieutenant engineering. And that's the other benefit of this, is the bridge officer seating. Even though you won't be able to use a commander level ability at tier 1, you will still be able to use all ensign powers, and you will have that many bridge officer seating slots, unlike a tier 1 starship that would only have like 3. And then as you are able to level up your bridge officers, you will be able to use more and more powers on those stations. And so it just benefits you by having all of that available at the start. And also the consoles. It's got 2 tactical, 3 engineering, and 2 science, and those are always available for you. Yeah, it's a little light on the tactical, but this is a cruiser. It's got 3 engineering. Turn rate is 9. Remember, it's a cruiser. It's going to turn a little bit slow. Impulse modifier is 0.15, inertia 30. But check this out. It's got +5 to all power levels. Weapon, shield, engine, and auxiliary is all +5 power. So you're going to have higher power settings with this ship, all the way down to tier 1. It has the polarity remodulizer, which again you get to use all the way down to tier 1. Cruiser communications array abilities, strategic maneuvering, shield frequency modulation, weapon system efficiency, and attract fire. It, of course, is not a tier 5 U ship or a tier 6 ship, so there's no Starship mastery in it at all. No Starship trait, nothing like that. No specialized bridge officer seating. But it does have that full mastery cruiser package on it. And that is what you get with this ship. Let me see if there's anything else I missed here. I printed out this sheet from the specs on it. It just says here, it starts out as a Lieutenant Tier 1 cruiser. It is 1500 Zen, or you can get it in the Age of Discovery starter pack. And yeah, I think it says here in 2221, when ships of this class first entered service, the Walker-class prototype light exploration cruiser was considered to be one of the powerhouses leading the Federation into the future, designed to be effective in a wide variety of missions. However, by the beginning of the Federation-Klingon War, only a small number of Walker-class starships were still in active service, while the majority of them had already been decommissioned. With the sudden escalation of full-scale war with the Klingon Empire, the Admiralty began evaluating all of its mothballed hulls to determine how quickly they could be readied for active service. At the top of the list to be reactivated were the existing reserve of Walker-class starships. Per Admiral Cornwell's instructions, these ships have been offered to junior officers ready for their first command. Okay. So that's how a little bit of history on the ship there. So they were commissioned, or they were in service around 2221, and then by the mid 2250s they were old and there weren't many of them around. But because of the Klingon Federation War, they brought some out of mothball and put them back into service, basically. So it was a very good ship for its time, but it's more of an early 23rd century ship than a mid 23rd century ship, even though it was still active a little bit during that time. So that gives you some background information on where the ship is from and its era. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, folks, is to bring up the stats and the build that I currently have on this ship. Now just keep in mind that similar to every other Starship review I do, the review is not about my build. The review is about the ship and its abilities, how they operate, how they work, how they look, and how it works in combat and how useful the ship is. It's not about my build, because there's a million different ways you can make a build on a ship, and I'm sure you can make one better than me. So just don't review my build, review the ship. But that said, I am going to show you what I have on the ship, because you need to know what I'm using when we go into combat. So the first thing I want to go over are the stats on this ship. Also note that I am level Rear Admiral lower half, level 44. That means the max gear level that I can use is Mark 10. I cannot go above Mark 10 right now. At level 45, I think I can go to 11. But right now, where I'm at, Mark 10 is as high as I can go. So I do have my gear at Mark 10. That's as high as I can go. And that is beyond the scope of this ship. Remember, it's meant to scale up to Tier 4. And Tier 4 is Mark 8 gear. At captain level, it's Mark 8. So typically, you would most people will, run this up to Mark 8 gear and then get their new ship at Mark 10 or Tier 5. But I am running it past what it is normally capable of. I am running it at Tier 5 with Mark 10 gear, which is above its level cap, basically. Okay, so here are the stats. Stealth detection rating is 18.85 currently on mine. I have a 310% power transfer rate. My defense rating is 45. My hull strength is 41,112, and remember, it maxed out at like 28,000 or something like that for a Tier 4. So I have my hull strength really buffed up on this ship. I mean, doubled. The hull strength on this ship basically is doubled from what it should be. 65% hull rate, repair rate. My shields are at 10,000. My resistance is at like 40%. And my crit severity is 50%, and crit chance is 2.5%. And my turn rate is 19.2 degrees per second. Now remember, the default on this is 9. So again, I have that like doubled here. And that really helps, because at 9, this ship turns really slow. And I really, really wanted a higher turn rate out of this ship. Its default base turn rate was not good enough for me. I needed a higher turn rate. And so I have developed this ship with that in mind. I have chosen gear that boost engine speed and turn rate and flight speed. So keep that in mind. I've put a lot of resources toward engine speed, turn rate, flight speed, and I've also put resources toward the hull strength and the shield strength. Because it's a cruiser, I have really buffed up the tankiness of it. So that's just a design choice that I made when choosing my skills. You may choose differently, of course, when choosing your skills. Okay, so the first thing that I need to go over is the fact that these weapons, you will notice, they have no numbers on them. They have no mark level, they have no rarity, they have no infinity symbol, they have just nothing on them at all. This is the default weapons that come with this ship at Tier 1. That's right, the default weapons. I did not change the weapons. Now the reason for this is because these weapons will auto level with your ship up to a point. they only auto level up to tier 4. So at tier 5 that I'm at now, they're actually a little underpowered for what a Mark 10 level weapon would be. They are instead maxed out, and we can compare that because my I have one here that I have up to this is one I purchased because it only comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, but then I purchased separately off the exchange or somewhere. I got a mission reward or something. I've got this phaser beam array, and as you can see, I have it at Mark 10, which is tier 5, and it has a damage modifier on it, but you can see that the phaser damage on this thing is 585 and the DPS is 468. And then when I go to look at these, that's lower. The phaser damage is still the same, but my DPS is 468 here, excuse me, and this is 438. And yeah, the phaser damage is down to 548 versus 585. I don't know why I was looking at that wrong. So yeah, I got 585 phaser damage, 468 DPS, 438 DPS, 548 phaser damage on these. So even though these do scale, they only scale to tier 4 and they don't go beyond that. So that's why this ship would not be very good past tier 5. But at tier 5, it's okay enough. The weapons are sitting just under what your tier 5 weapon powers should be. So which is not a huge difference, honestly. And that can be buffed by other things to improve their damage and so forth anyway. But the default weapon configuration are emitter-linked phaser beams and the photon torpedo launcher standard. And what it had by default was one photon torpedo launcher in the aft, one photon torpedo launcher in the fore, and then 1, 2, 3 these 5 emitter-linked phaser beam arrays is what it had. And so I did keep one of the photon torpedoes, and I kept all of the emitter-linked phaser beams and let them scale with the ship. And then I took one of the photon torpedo things out of the aft and just put in another phaser beam array in the aft so that I have 6 total. But you can see that these the ones it comes with are emitter linked. That means that they improve shield healing and shield hit points. So they actually do improve your shield hit points while in battle. Otherwise, it came with standard issue shield, deflector, impulse, and warp core. And I, of course, replaced those. But the weapons, I did just keep the same. It is phaser-based energy, and again, they do scale with the ship, but they only scale to tier 4. After that, they do not scale anymore, and so they become useless at tier 5 and up. Not useless, just less useful. But at tier 5, they're still okay. I would not take this ship out at tier 6. By that point, by the time I hit level 50, I'm going to be ready for a tier 6 starship. But the ship has lasted me great between tier 1 and tier 5. Now, what I have done on my build is I have skipped ahead in some of the missions and put some better gear on this thing. I went ahead and from the Iconian mission called Midnight, you get this set called the Soul Defense set. I did that mission over and over again 3 times, which I absolutely hate that mission. It's the last one in the Iconian missions, but I did it 3 times to get this entire Soul Defense set on this ship so that I can show the ship to you in the best light possible and use something than non-standard equipment. So this is a complete Desperate Defenses set that has a 2- and 3-piece bonus attached to it. So this is the Soul Defense Deflector Array, and you can see all the stats on it and what it has. And then this is the Soul Defense Impulse Engine. It's got flight speed, flight turn rate, shield power, impulse flight speed improvement, all power to engines. And then the shield I really love. This is the Soul Defense Covariant Shield, which means it has a very high shield capacity because it's covariant. It also reduces all energy damage to shields by 10% and has incoming shield healing. And it is part of the Desperate Defensive set. So if we look at the details on that, having the 2-piece gives me a plus 35 kinetic damage resistance and a plus 25 energy damage resistance. And then the 3-piece of it gives me this discharge repair nanites, basically a huge healing ability that I can enable. So this is the Soul Defense set, and it just really makes this ship awesome. It really does. Now, what I really want and wanted to try on this ship was the Aegis set, because that's something that you can also get before you do your reputations. Unfortunately, Aegis starts at level 50 because it's Mark 12. So I won't be able to use Aegis until Mark 12, until level 50. So that just wasn't going to work on this ship. But at least I was able to get this Soul Defense set, which you can get by playing the episode Midnight. So that was really cool. And then I have the Plasma Integrated Warp Core, Engine Cap, Shield to Engine, and Sector Speed. So again, you can see there's a lot of engine buffs in here to get my engine speed up, because I really, really wanted a faster engine speed. The ship just moved too slow for me. I needed a faster ship and more turn rate, and that's what I want. That's what I got. I also have a Mark 10 Neutronium on here, all damage resistance rating, and yes, I've got an RCS on here for flight turn rate plus 35%. I needed that turn rate boost. And yes, I also have another engine power setting buff on here, plus 7.5. And then I have a shield, maximum shield capacity to increase that on here. And then here's the unique console it comes with. 50% shield kinetic resistance, plus 50 kinetic resistance rating, when damaged, heal shields for 10% of that damage. And then, of course, on the tactical consoles, I've got 2 phaser relays. That's all you can have there for improving phaser damage. And thus is my build. The key points really here is that the weapons I did keep that are emitter linked, and they are scaling up to tier 4. Could you put other weapons on here? Absolutely. You could go with sensor linked phasers, you could go with emitter, you could go with integrity linked, or you could just put regular old red phasers on here. You could do whatever you want, of course, but I liked these because they scaled with the ship, and I didn't have to upgrade them, or I didn't have to do anything with them because they automatically scale. And you'll notice that there is no upgrade option. There's no upgrade at all, and that's because they automatically scale. So just keep that in mind. And thus is my build. And you can see here that my phasers are doing 633 DPS. So 633 DPS, 791 phaser, 633, 791, 633, 791, 633, 791, 633, 791, and then this one is higher because it is actually Mark 10, so it's 675 and 844. So just keep in mind that like these are pretty much like Mark 8. Just think of it that way. These max out at Mark 8, whereas if you put something manually on, you can keep going up and up in level, and these would just stop at Mark 8. But they don't have any rarity to them. There's no uncommon, rare, very rare, ultra rare, or epic. So you don't get the rarity upgrade with these. That's the only downside. So again, they're good to tier 4 and maybe tier 5, but after that, I mean, they really will lose their usefulness very quickly because you cannot upgrade them and you cannot upgrade their rarity. So you're better off getting manual weapons, something manually upgrade your weapons to something different afterwards if you were going to keep the ship longer. But really, for the purpose of the ship and the time you're going to use the ship, you really don't even need to change the weapons out. Just stick with these weapons all through tier 4 and tier 5. Just stick with the same weapons, because that's the amount of time you're going to be using the ship anyway, and it's only good for that amount of time. So it kind of works. It's almost like Cryptic knew what they were doing there. Funny, huh? Okay, here is the console, because we need to know what that does, the unique console. It looks like this. Very cool looking, and it has kept me alive on several occasions. It's a cool ability, and it does exactly what it says. 50% shield kinetic resistance, plus 50 kinetic resistance rating, and when damaged, heal shields for 10% of that damage. It's a very cool ability, Again, you can put it on other starships as well. And of course, this does have the cruiser command. So I've got my command. I can't activate them while I'm out of combat, but I got weapon system efficiency, and I got shield frequency modulation, and strategic maneuvering. And then the other one is the attract fire. So I do have a full cruiser command array abilities on this ship, which again makes it very useful at any tier level. Here's the turn rate with that I have buffed, and you can see even with the turn rate as buffed as I have, it still seems like it moves and turns slowly, and that's with the buffed turn rate that I have. So you can see that, you know, I definitely wanted to have those buffs there to the engine power and to turn rate, because otherwise it's just way too slow. I have 116 on weapon power, 71 on shield, 57 on engine, and 47 on aux. In terms of my skills, like I said, I have things that are buffing the hull strength. For example, I've got hull capacity buff on here. I also have shield capacity buff in my skills. I've got hull plating all maxed out. I also have defensive and offensive subsystem tuning on here, and I'm working on warp core potential right now. So you can see that I do have it, you know, made to be tanky. In terms of my traits, some of the traits that I have on here for sure is I've got Thrill Seeker, which is plus 15% flight and impulse speed. I got Warp Core, Warp Theorist, Beam Training, Projectile Training, Accuracy, and then I also have Maximum Shield Capacity. Oh, and I got Hull Capacity too, right here. Hull Capacity, maximum hull hit points. So that's where the doubling of my hull strength is coming from. I got all those things buffing, you know, the hull strength there. And those are the basic stats on the ship. I think it is a very good ship, and now let's take it into battle. And I think the best way to do that is to just jump in. Let's do some of the common ones first. For example, Defensive Starbase 1. I don't have a lot open to me because I'm only level 44, but let's do Defensive Starbase 1, and I'm going to go for the Gusto. Let's do it on Advanced mode, because that is harder and more difficult, and we can see what this ship is really capable of in a tough scenario like that. So let's start with Defensive Starbase 1 Advanced. And don't forget to let me show you the bridge at the end of this. We got the Walker class bridge, and it really fits this ship because of where the bridge is located on the bottom here. So after our combat, we'll take a look at the bridge. Yes, I do like this ship. Let's begin. Come on. Load. Load now. Thank you.
Listen up.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is hit my cruiser command ability, weapon system efficiency. That is a minus 25% weapon power cost for yourself and allies. Nobody's around me right now. We're all spread out. Look at that. And then pretty much we're just going to go into battle here and just sit back and relax as I do my best at taking out the enemies and protecting the ships. Have some fun here.
Here they come. We're prepping for evac of non-essential personnel and civilians.
I like the way that the weapons fire, for sure. I am taking a bit of damage here. Oh, I blew up. Even though my hull is
may have a
doubled,
short amount of time before more arrive.
I still have to watch out, because on an advanced task force operation like this, they do hit harder. Normal would be a lot easier.
Reading some heavier ships in.
But I don't ever do anything normal.
An evacuation ship is launching. Give them cover.
Gator is taking some fire. Please assist.
Evacuation ship is launching. Give them cover. The Klingons are regrouping again. Get into position to prepare for the next assault.
You know, as much as I hate the mission Midnight, I might actually go ahead and do that mission to show you the space battle in that mission
Here
with
come the
this
Klingon
ship.
battleships. Keep fighting!
Because it's pretty tough, but it really allows us to show off the ship combat very well.
The evacuation ship is launching. Give them cover!
There we go. Defense of Starbase 1.
For now. I don't know how much longer we can keep up with this kind of war.
So, you can definitely tell it was a little bit more difficult being on advanced mode with this ship. But of course, we are at level supposed to be at like level 60 because we are now at a higher level than normally for this mission. I think when you're below a certain level, it's only like 54 or something like that. But it's at like in-game level 60 level, scaling us up. And I did take some damage here. So the enemies do hit harder, and it takes a lot more to take the enemies down. But even considering that I'm one tier above what I should be with this ship, still did pretty well in that. And it was a lot of fun. I think I do want to do the mission Midnight from the Iconian storyline, because the first battle sequence in that, where you are up against the Herald ships, is pretty tough. And when I was playing that mission, I was like, you know, this could be a good test to test out starships with, because it's a pretty big battle, and you get to go up against Herald ships, which are definitely tough. And it's a good way to test our ship, and also will be level appropriate, because it, you know, levels the enemy and everything with your current level correctly. So that's what I'm going to do. First, I want to repair my damage. And then we will do that, actually, for some fun here. And then I think we'll end out or round out the battle with just a simple patrol after this, because patrols are a lot easier, and they're also more level appropriate. And we'll show the ship with the appropriate, like, leveling. Okay, let's do missions. And so the mission I'm talking about is under the Iconian War, and it's the last one, called Midnight. So let's do that, and we're just going to transwarp straight there. Begin Midnight.
You are cleared for docking.
So again, just sit back and enjoy as I quickly go through all the prompts here to get us to the point where we can do some space battles. I'm just going to F everything, go to the conference room and F everybody in there, and then we'll be to the combat. So just stand by 1 second. Let me F Kagrin.
We can.
Then hit escape, and we can bypass that and beam up, and we will be at the battle scene just like that.
I've Enterprise.
So here we go. Herald ships.
This is the USS Hood. Our attack group is taking heavy losses.
RRW Vivetrix responding to your call for assistance, Hood.
So now you can see what this ship can actually do in a storyline mission. Stupid solar gateway. Nope, I'm dead. The solar gateway got me.
Enterprise can hold the line. Help get those ships back into the fight.
Okay.
Magnetic fields are failing. All hands, abandon ship.
Curlin here.
Herald ships are moving in some kind of massive infrastructure, requesting immediate assistance.
IKS, Barabbas, changing course to alert station.
Shipyards are losing integrity. We need someone on damage control, or we may lose them before the ships and dock can mobilize.
Akagi here. We've restored main power. Thanks for keeping the gantries intact. Bringing the Fight 99th Attack Wing into battle now.
This is ESD control. We're losing life support and transporters are offline.
First aircraft has lost main power. We're evacuating crew.
Chimera, all non-essential personnel are away.
Okay. Intercept these ships over here. And we've got the cavalry coming, the Dominion ships.
I told you I'd
We'll
be
just
back.
hit escape on
Forces
that.
from every quadrant of the galaxy. That could be done impossible. Right.
Okay, time for the time ship.
I hope.
I'm arriving with the time ship. We must protect it until the portal is stable.
Love that ability that I have there with the console. Really comes in handy.
Keep those Iconians off us. Temporal coordinates have been identified. We're halfway there, creating a bridge across space-time. A little bit longer, stabilizing the temporal portal so a ship can travel through it. That's it! The portal is active and stable. Enter it now!
Yay, I'm entering a turtle. Time portal. And that is the space battle
Temporal emitters.
in Midnight.
The time portal is open and stable.
I thought that would be a good thing to show you guys there. I've never used that before to test out the ship combat, but I think that I might use that from now on. Because it's a good example of a mission combat in the game that's pretty intense but doesn't last too long. And you get to go up against lots of Herald ships and pretty fun. Okay, but now we can abandon this mission. But that was pretty cool, and it shows that in, you know, mission content, the prototype light exploration cruiser I'm using here is excellent for playing those missions. If you're wondering about my sector speed travel speed, let's see, I'm doing warp 12.69, so I'm definitely breaking that warp 6 barrier there. I think the last thing we'll do, just combat-wise, is just a simple patrol, something easy and simple, not a lot of ships, just so you can see what single combat is like. But again, I really love that console. That console that comes with the shield console, it really helps in tough situations, and I'm finding it is keeping me alive during some really tough situations. What's a good thing to go to? We went to the air system. I don't think we can go to these systems we've been to anymore. So that means I have to find new ones. Let's see what is under available. Okay, after some very long searching for patrols, I finally found one in the Mandel system. Looks like we've got Orions. That should be a very nice, easy patrol to show our ship in combat here. We can take a look at it against the Orions. Let's do this. I bet we'll take these things down real fast. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That really shows off this ship in a good light there. Something very appropriate to the level we're flying here, Orions. You can see that it really does. This ship does a great job. There we go. That was pretty cool. Got to use our shield ability too to see what that does. You can see how that really helps. And just like that, another one is done. Okay. I did mention that we'll go to the bridge, so let's visit the bridge. This is the unique Walker-class bridge that the ship comes with. No need to purchase it separately. It comes with the ship. And this is what I was talking about with the big view screen. Remember, we're under the hull, so you should be able to like look up and see the hull. But nice big window to see around. We've got this down here, which also allows us to see under. Remember the windows that were under the bridge. See that? We can see under. There's several areas where we can see back behind. Look at that. Isn't that cool looking? And then there's windows here and here as well, where these consoles are. We have access to our small craft account bank and a library files. Now there's supposed to be a ready room off of this bridge. Unfortunately, we cannot go through any of the doors. This just exits us to sector space, and there are no more doors we can go through, but one of them would technically lead toward the ready room, I believe. We have access to our duty officers and counselor and operations officer for duty officer missions. And that's pretty much the bridge. I like the looks of it. It fits this Walker class. Remember, it's early 23rd century, and I think that fits here. Kind of feels a little bit more like the NX-01 Enterprise. I guess we're only like 100 years later from Enterprise, so pretty cool. I think it fits with this time period pretty well. Let's exit this, and we're going to go down to Earth Space Dock and take a look at customizations we can do with the ship. There's really not a lot, but we'll take a look anyway. Oh, I can't transwarp. Means I got to go there the old-fashioned way. Okay, well, I guess we'll just wait till we get there. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Sol system. We're going to go down to Earth Space Dock and look at customization options for the Starship. Can we do anything to visually change it, other than putting a unique shield on it, of course? Let's check that out. And then I will end with my final comments on this ship and let you know where I'm going from there with this character. Obviously, still want to level the character all the way up to 65. That's a continuing thing, of course. But along the way, I'll be skipping missions so that I can get specific gear to put on my ships as I get them on this character. Let's go to Customize Ship. Customize Starship. Here we go. The Walker template, as it's called, comes with the Walker material. There's also a Discovery Era Starfleet 1 material, Era 2 material, Era 3, and 4. So different ones, some light, some dark. Now this is interesting between the two different textures. Look at this. I am looking, let me click on one of these, number 2 here. Look right here in this square. Again, I don't know what this area of the ship does, but notice how the texture does change what that area might do, and other areas of the ship too. See how there's these blue squares with this texture. When I go to the next texture, look what it turns into. It's almost like a runway or a landing pad at this point. There's no squares there. I don't know what that is. And then when I go to 4, now look what it is. It's some kind of like vents, openings, ports. I don't know what that is. That's very unique. Same here too on this area. So these textures do more than just change, you know, the outside appearance. I mean, they really change some of the outside appearance on these ships to even maybe change functionality of some things, you know? And then here's the Walker, what the Walker looks like. Who knows what those are? It's just interesting that it has those changes, differences. I do like the purple, though, in the dish. I really do, and I don't think these skins had the purple. Look, this has red. That's orange. This has blue, and that's a darkish red. Honestly, though, I like the purple. Doesn't change the warp nacelle colors, though. But I like the purple better. And then for the windows, well, you got one type of window, type 1. Interior is the Walker Bridge, of course. Under Advanced, no style options. And then the default pattern that they used is called Lyra. You can, of course, change the pattern and coloring here. So, for example, this reddish color is actually using this pinkish color with the Lyra pattern. But you could change that color if you want. You could have green or white or darker or do all kinds of different colors there. Purplish, purple bluish. You can do all kinds of things there. So, how you change things. Look, you can even change this portion of the deflector. Look at that, changing colors. And that's because of the pattern that's on this. So, different things you can do to customize the looks of the ship there, but you can't change the style, you can't change pieces around. Pretty much just texture and coloring and pattern on the ship. And of course, one way to really make the ship look different is to put a unique shield on it. You know, something like the Terran shield, which I really like. Any kind of ship shield like that will definitely change the look of the ship quite a bit. Well, everybody, there you go. That is my review of the prototype light exploration cruiser. It's a very cool ship. The fact that it scales is a unique ability. It is part of the starter pack you can get, or you can buy it on its own. The scaling bit of it I like. For one, it makes it very useful at the lower end tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3. It's more powerful than an equivalent tier 1, 2, or 3 ship. So you're getting a more powerful ship at a lower tier than you normally would have, which makes your leveling experience just more fun. You can blow through anything with this ship, literally. Once you get to tier 4, it's going to stop scaling. However, that doesn't mean that it's not useful after tier 4. It is useful as a tier 5 starship. So that means your Rear Admiral lower half and Rear Admiral upper half career can be done with this ship instead of having to purchase or get a tier 5 starship. So you could practically and literally run this ship from tier 1 right after the tutorial all the way until you're ready to get your tier 6 ship at level 50. One ship all the way until the end. It's doable. It is worth it. It can work. It is a good ship that will last all the way through to tier 50, all the way to level 50. Imagine tier 50. Imagine 50 different tiers of ships. That would be insane. Yeah, level 50. It works all the way to level 50. Of course, beyond level 50, no. By that point, get a tier 6 ship. You will need it. But up until that point, it's got a very long lifespan. And it's a very fun ship, and it's versatile. It is very versatile, and it is fun. My only complaint is that there are not more Discovery ships, because right now you just have the Malachowski class. Check out my review on that. And then this light prototype exploration cruiser. That's all you have up until you get to tier 6, and then you can get a Crossfield or Spearhead or whatever they call it now, the Discovery Science ship, or you can get a tier 6 Walker class. There is a tier 6 Walker class. So you can get those ships and the Europa. The Europa is new now too. You can get the Europa as well at tier 6. You can get those new ships at tier 6, but before that there is no other tier 2, 3, or 4, or 5 ship. This is it. I would like to see a tier 5 level Discovery ship. I think we at least need a tier 5 level Discovery ship. But that is my only complaint with this faction. Well, not my only complaint, but one of my complaints with this faction is that there are not enough ships, because the standard Federation Starfleet faction has one ship per tier, and this faction does not. They just give you one ship that scales. So we need some more Discovery era ships. So what are my plans now moving forward on this character? Definitely I am going to be doing the next ship. I'm going to have to get to tier 6, but I am going to get the new Europa. Where is that here? Because that is the next ship we can get. It's new, and there's a Discovery variant of it. So it is canon with Discovery, but it's the Europa Heavy Battle Cruiser Tier 6, so it's a 3,000 Zen ship, but that's what I'm going for next. And this will be my next Discovery era ship. I'll use the Discovery skin on it, and we'll consider it a Discovery era ship, because it is a flagship of the 23rd century Starfleet. So that's where I'm headed next on this character, and I'll make a video about it. I need to get to level 50 first, of course, and then I need to purchase the ship, and I'll do a video on it. I'll make a video where I equip the ship, a preview of it, like I did with the Walker class here, and then a review of this ship much later on after I get to play with it a lot more. But that's where I'm headed on this character, is the Europa. So at this point, that's going to be my prototype Walker class scaling ship review. And if I get a Walker class tier 6 ship in the future, I will definitely review that as well. And also look forward to the Spearhead, Crossfield, whatever you want to call it, Discovery Science ship tier 6 review in the future as well. Got that planned. So a lot of cool ships to review coming out here. A lot of Discovery ships right now, but that is the name of the game, literally, Age of Discovery right now. So I'm going to hit what is popular, or if it's not popular, at least hit what people want to know about, if they're good ships or not, because they are Discovery era ships, but are they good in the game? So far, I have to say I am impressed. The Malachowski was a good ship. I enjoyed that one, and it definitely went past its tier level. It definitely worked well past its tier level. And then this one, this prototype Walker class, definitely works beyond its tier level as well, and was a very fun ship to fly. I really did enjoy it. So I do recommend getting this ship if you're really going to invest your time in the game, and invest your time in the DSC Starfleet faction, invest your time in the Discovery era, and you really want to have the most fun out of the game, I can definitely recommend this ship. And there you go. That's my review of the Walker class. I hope that helps somebody out there. If you were thinking about this ship and what it can do and its usefulness, now maybe you know a little bit more about it. Let me know below what you think of the ship. Have you flown it? Do you have it? Are you thinking of getting it? Are you having fun with it? Are you not having fun with it? Pros, cons, and all those things. I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.